Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, September 28th. We are on the European account. We've got a ton of news to cover and we need to get 2 more Tavern Brawls and Challenge a Friend. So anybody I play, I'm going to only give them friend request until somebody accepts it. I guess we'll stick with this Druid deck for a while. If I really start to struggle getting victories, I can switch to probably a mage deck in this Tavern Brawl and get victories a little bit easier than that. We're stretching everything out because I have more news than I have daily quests, but I imagine that that will probably change pretty quickly because it's always hard to measure how much news is actually left. All I can do is look at the number of tabs I have open. First story we can cover is Ubisoft, Fig, and other companies form the Blockchain Gaming Alliance, which this is probably not a good thing. Ubisoft sucks as a company. Fig is a combination of several people, several video game companies that were doing their own Kickstarter because they wanted to make more money. The other companies are Gimli, G-I-M-L-I, Alto, A-L-T-O, and Ultra. 3 companies I've never heard of. See, the running gag, the joke here, is that anytime any company gets in the blockchain, it means they literally have no business model and they're just trying to make a quick buck. Part of the people who own Fig are the Double Fine, which Double Fine supposedly is supposed to be making a new Psychonauts game, and it is very slow development, and Double Fine has kind of failed to continue to make just even an once a year good product, or even once every couple of years, which is pretty bad. Now that Telltale is basically shut down, you would have felt that it certainly would have been nice, at least, if Double Fine had been able to come out and say, hey, actually we'll hire several of these Telltale employees and we'll make games, because a lot of the people that worked at Telltale were ex-LucasArts games. A lot of the Double Fine games were also LucasArts games, so there's a very direct connection between that. Both companies kind of come from that point-and-click adventure style of gameplay design, and I know Telltale turned it into its own thing, but that doesn't... I still feel like there's a little bit of a demand. Not as much as Telltale thought there was, but there's enough old gamers like me who like point and clicks where we would play 2, 3, 4 a year without really complaining. And a lot of point and clicks have always been kind of bad, so the quality really doesn't have to get that way. But yes, this article is about the Blockchain Gaming Alliance. There probably is something you could do with blockchain as an idea that's not directly connected to cryptocurrency. Some kind of online multiplayer games where you're using the CPU processing power of the end user's computer in an effort to verify certain actions, I guess is what you would call it. that take place, so that there's no. I assume the way you would do it and the way it would work is you would use it to prevent cheating. But I don't know if you really need blockchain to prevent cheating. A lot of it more seems like cryptocurrency, and only cryptocurrency makes sense. I have seen like streaming services that try to do a video form of blockchain, so no one computer has like all the videos that are being served on the website, but at a certain level that just breaks it down and makes it back to torrenting, because that was the idea of the BitTorrent protocol too, was that that no one person really needed to have the entirety of a video, although in practicality and actuality, seeding a torrent does require at least one person to have 100% of the video. This is really one of those stories too that we really can't you really can't get too much into until you see what they actually do, if they do anything at all. There's a quote here that says the Blockchain Alliance is advocating for a universal standard in blockchain gaming space to create new, interoperable, and transparent ecosystems which will benefit stakeholders. This almost seems like what it would be is a interoperable Bitcoin microtransaction. So say you bought gold for World of Warcraft, you could then transfer it to Clash Royale, or you could transfer it from Clash Royale to Candy Crush. So microtransactions flow from one game to the other. So that quote here says, blockchain is redefining the gaming experience by providing transaction transparency and proof of ownership, while also bringing exciting innovations and financial incentives to players. Yeah, this is just cryptocurrency scams, is all that is. But then again, I kind of would say that investing in a video game was always a bad idea, and I'll colloquially describe it as a scam. I don't think it really is a scam, but investing in a video game and getting a very low rate of return compared to just buying stocks and bonds or an entire market portfolio what has always been not a wise decision. It's a very undiversified investment in the first place, but it was never planning on paying you back anywhere as much as you could have gotten from other investments. Here we have a game on Steam called Nostoi, N-O-S-T-O-I. It says it's a narrative 3D puzzle platformer game with a gameplay mechanic based on physics and time manipulation. The game is about a boy who tries to escape the psychological trauma. The first thing I would say about this is it does have a interesting character who's been animated. It's like a blonde, long-haired boy that has been done in a CG cel-shaded style of animation. And then it seems like there's a bunch of enemies that are just carbon copies of the same thing over and over again. Let's see, we need to continue to add friends too. Remember to do that after each game. And some of the enemies seem to just be copies of the main character. The platforming and platforms themselves look animated sparsely, but slightly interestingly well. This really is just going to come down to price, and it's at no discount, $5.99. It's in English only. I don't know. It's the only game from this developer. I guess I'll be generous. This would be the first game that I've even thought about putting on my wish list. So, in 2 hours. So that's not too bad, I would say. So yeah, I'll keep this one and put it on the wish list and see if we can get some user reviews to push me either towards or away from that game. Next we have a game called Buy Low, Sell High, which basic stock market explanation, and yes, this seems like a pretty basic looking stock market simulation game. It doesn't look particularly interesting. It's $7.95, which is way too expensive. Way too high for what it is. So closing that tab.
I want you.
We have a game called Rabbit of Destiny, and at this point there's been more Rabbit games than I think there should be on Steam. Like, I know that in the old days there was a few rabbit-based platforming games, and this is another rabbit-based shooting platforming game. But I kind of question if there are that many rabbit people in the world that you would have so many games in the past 3 or 4 weeks come out. As for this game, it does kind of evoke the feeling of an old Windows 95 platformer shooter game, like Jazz Jackrabbit, which is what I assume this is spoofing. It looks like it's a pretty fast-paced movement game. It's 30% off right now for $2.09. So I think this one too needs to go on the wish list until we can get some reviews and see how people like it. It's also the second game from this developer, with the first game being 84% positive of 13 user reviews. It sucks that you don't get more user reviews on Steam for most games, but I guess I would prefer to bow to the whims of 13 people versus just randomly buying a game with no reviews. Tech Raptor has their coverage club. They cover the game in Gleaner Heights and the game Late Shift. And they don't really review either one, so they just write paragraphs about both of them, and that's probably more information than I even needed for to say about the coverage club articles. We already talked about Vivendi laying plans to relinquish the last of its Ubisoft stock, so we don't need to mention that Game of Sutra article. I think that was the same article before, which is confusing because I specifically ran my plugin to make sure there were no duplicate tabs, but clearly it doesn't quite work. Well, I'm gonna lose, so... Next we have a game on Steam called Conjure Strike. It says it's a 3 versus 3 hero shooter in zero gravity, in VR, with 3 game modes.
I want you.
Apparently MOBA. Polish on this doesn't look terrible, but this is just the Battleborn issue. Like, basically no name company is going to make something that outdoes Overwatch or even comes close to the popularity of Overwatch. It's time to get rid of this deck and we'll just make a mage deck again. Let's see, this. Let's see. And then I just want Archmage and Tinnitus. Now, probably wouldn't be a bad idea to use Ice Block while we're trying this too. So who do I want to lose? That one. There we go. Yeah, Conjure Strike apparently is free to play right now, but that ends in about 1 day and 20 hours, and then it is 40% off for $8.99 after that.
Watch your
You're just not gonna get a MOBA on VR alone. It's just a bad plan from the word go. Let's see. I don't think I need that one. Next we have a game on Steam called Jack and Jill DX. Says it has 140 levels and a bunch of mini games. It looks like it's a black and white Game Boy-esque platformer with a character that can also flap his wings and fly. So it feels like playing Super Mario Land on the Game Boy, very, very much. So it seems like the character can also kind of stick to walls and slide down.
what to do?
This, and this, and this.
Time runs out on me.
Yeah, I don't know though. This game is 20% off for $3.99. If you wanted a black and white Game Boy Super Mario Land-esque game, I guess there's probably nothing wrong with this game. But
the power is here. You need only to see it.
I think for me and most realistic people, it's probably not the right type of game for some. Let's see, one of these developers, the way that you have to look now, every game that has any reviews is only getting mixed reviews, and they're the ones that also made Super Destroy Not DX, which was a Space Invaders clone. And so it seems like this developer in particular is just making really, really close to close and obvious clones of famous old games to the point where they might get sued. Moving on, we have a game called The Necklace of Blood Part 2. The second part of a two-part thriller visual novel. It's tagged with indie-core, violent, and sexual content. This is a Western-looking game with, I would say, moderately bad comic book animation or webcomic style animation. It's lacking in what I would think is shading. It's 10% off for $22.44. That is an incredibly high price for a visual novel game. The first one, Necklace of Blood, which is not marked as part 1, came out March 27th, 2018, and right now it's 75% off for 99 cents. So you've got this whole bait and switch going on, where the first part of the game is practically free, and then the second part is incredibly expensive. And I would say the animation style has changed from the first game to the other, like very drastically. So yeah, I can't recommend the Necklace of Blood visual novel series. Close that tab.
Fire, child.
Did I send out a friend request to the last person I played? I don't believe I did. This...
Someday I'll be just like you.
I don't have enough mana.
Next we have a game called The Knights of Climb-A-Lot, and it seems like a Mount Your Friends style multiplayer game, except for it's not climbing on your friends, it's instead climbing on mountains. It says it has single player, but I imagine the single player is pretty boring and simplistic. Requires a controller. It's 25% off for $8.99. Yeah, I don't see anything that's good enough looking here to make it seem like it would interest me. But this fully is one of those games that might be a breakout hit also. It is totally possible that 6 months to a year from now, people are still playing this game because they find something fun and interesting in it, particularly as a party game. But it is also very possible that 6 months from now, it's completely forgotten. Next, we have a game on Steam called Fantasy Battles. That is a low-effort name if I've ever heard it. It seems like what it is a simulator where you place characters around and develop an area, and then I imagine what you do is you press go and you watch your two collections of like skeletons fighting knights fight each other, and I think that's kind of it. Let's see, this game is free, so I guess that seems like it's
At last.
fair enough. It says it has 36 levels simulating battles of humans versus undead, 12 unit types, 3 environments, cartoon graphics. So I guess the price is right, but the graphics do look pretty bad too, so you have to take that for what it is. Let's see, I think we've got somebody online, so let's give him a wild challenge. And he'll take it. Good. And what do I want to play? Let's play Death Rattle Hunter and do that. So this, since Negligee, the first game that was fully uncensored on Steam, came out, we really haven't had anything in the past couple of weeks of something that looked like it was a highly polished, good-looking sex game, for lack of a better term. I mean, that's probably the most accurate term anyways, on Steam. What we've seen is a lot of very low-effort games that take advantage of Steam's new no-censorship stance, and that's kind of a lot of bad things. So we've got this game, and it looks like it might be a candidate for number 2. One of the things that just occurred to me just a second ago is that perhaps part of the reason why we maybe won't see for quite a long time anything come out, particularly from the Japanese market, that's completely 100% censored, is the fact that in Japan nothing can legally be completely 100% uncensored. And since it is very obvious and well known that Japanese developers care about their Japanese market more than anything else, they simply may not turn to making uncensored versions to then turn around and censor it in their country just so they can uncensor it and sell it in most of the rest of the world. They may just see that as a waste of money, even though it probably isn't. Alright.
Ooh, I wonder what this does. Ooh, I wonder what this does.
So we've got this game called Lucy Got Problems. Lucy, then got problems. It says, Lucy is an airhead succubus spy who was sent into the Elven Forest to what was she supposed to do? She's in trouble. To find out how to survive in a forest full of dangers, complete a very important mission, make new friends, foes, find love, and more. This is tagged with nudity, sexual content, adventure, fantasy. So let's start looking at the video. This is from a developer called Flat Chest Developer, which is slightly confusing because the first thing you see about Lucy is she is definitely not flat-chested, and quite the opposite. Summon 3 microbots. So this succubus is in what you could only call a black leather bikini, and I'm seeing some other elf creatures that are in kind of green lingerie-esque style clothing getting shown. It does seem like there are a lot of visual novel-esque dialogue, so it's not fully voiced. Let's look at all the screenshots. But is there an actual game other than just a visual novel, choose a few lines of dialogue game in this? It seems like it's not. It seems like it's just a standard visual novel. You defeated me. The challenge a friend is now done. Good. That leaves me with just winning 2 more tavern battles, which we're still working on. All the screenshots are really just showing the guy says thanks, and I'll type in you're welcome.
Jaina versus Maiev.
None can escape my fury.
And
You asked
move
for
on
it.
from that. Let's see, this game is only in English, which is slightly surprising because the animation style looks like a Japanese animation style. It's up to that level of quality, which very often they aren't if they're only available in English. It's 10% off for $7.19. Down here at the bottom they say it's a Yuri Ecchi comedy visual novel, so that's girl on girl lewd comedy visual novel.
Runs out on me.
Length of 3 to 5 hours. Multiple small gameplay elements to brighten your mood. Shape to experience gameplay elements. 2 secret characters to discover. And they're going to try and have cards and achievements if Valve lets them. There's at least 4 characters being described here. And then the mature content description, which we want to keep an eye on this because that is going to... we've already seen people use it inappropriately to just re-describe their game instead of describing the potentially objectionable content in it. In this one it says, this game may contain content not appropriate for all ages or may not be appropriate for viewing at work. Nudity or sexual content, frequent violence or gore, general mature content. Very generic response there, considering the developer filled that in. Maybe Valve has decided to not let what they type in be the descriptor, and instead it should be just a more standardized response. Which might be the right response, frankly. Might be the right way to do it. That is the question. This developer has not developed anything else, but I don't know what I want to do with this game. I guess I want to wishlist this game just to keep an eye on it. By the way, it already has 36 36 achievements, so yeah, it's got that. Trading cards would be the next thing. That it'd have to get enough people to buy it and play it before you could get trading cards. Yeah, I guess I just want to keep an eye on this just to see where it goes. But I would say this probably is the next game that looks like it's at least trying to be a high quality product on Steam. Let's see. Apparently there is a Hearthstone pop-up book that is available for purchase, and Hearthstone tweeted it. You don't, I think, actually play Hearthstone so much as it's just somebody has made a few pages of a pop-up book for you to basically put on the shelf and show off once, and that's it. Yeah, this strategy is not working greatly. TechRaptor has an article, a new teaser for Thronebreaker, The Witcher Tales, pre-order available, which Thronebreaker releases on October 23rd for PC, exclusively on Good Old Games, and then it releases on consoles on December 4th with a suggested retail price of $29.99. Thronebreakers, I believe, is the standalone story experience of Gwent, but I'm not 100% sure when it broke off that you're actually playing a game that's any different than Gwent. Like, you can almost think that this would have been a Telltale game had Telltale not run out of money. Yeah, it's still questionable whether the let's just go to the official website that they're linking to see if maybe we can see what kind of gameplay
Well played.
it is. I guess it isn't Gwent anymore. It now looks like it's a top-down Diablo-esque game. But then the description down here says 100+ tailor-made card battles. So I think it probably is Gwent, but it's like a solo adventure equivalent of Gwent where you're going to see characters move on a map from point A to point B in between each battle, just kind of using like a board game map as an indicator of just how far you've gotten down the path.
You require my assistance?
Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Wet Warfare, which this is a party game where people are playing multiplayer, fighting each other on a beach with what looks like squirt guns, or maybe you can use umbrellas as shields. The graphics don't look very good, and it actually looks like pretty slow speed that the game is running at. It's $1.99. Like, you could easily call it a Sinran Kagra Peach Beach Splash clone, but then that's also a clone of Splatoon 2, so it'd probably be easier just to call it a Splatoon clone, but it's not very good regardless of what it is from what I can see. This is not working. I think I need to edit out this, which is not going to play any role, and find another spell for using enemy. That might work. Next we have a game on Steam called Asteroid Fight, which looks like it's a top-down strategy, real-time strategy game. Just trying to... Looks like it's also kind of a space game. Online multiplayer only, and any online multiplayer game is not for me. Early access, 20% off for $9.59, which looks way too high considering the level of graphics I'm seeing.
You asked for it. Oh, it is on.
This is one of those games that only just boils down to the idea of why would I play this instead of, say, StarCraft? When StarCraft, even if you played it before, would be a much better experience. Let's see, and we'll look at this developer, see if he's released anything else. No, he hasn't, so yeah. Close that tab. Next we have a game called Zero Ranger, which is a fly from the bottom of the screen to the top of the screen shooter with big thick black bars on either side of the game, of the screen, and just, you know, generic top down airplane shooter. Doesn't look like it's got anything here that would really convince me to play it. Let's see, it's 10% off for $10.79. Yeah, I don't see anything on Zero Ranger. Also, first game from this developer. So, close that tab. We have a game called Achromatic, A-C-H-R-O-M-A-T-I-C. It says it's a minimalistic puzzle game about connecting dots in order to transform them all to one cohesive color. Well, this is a slightly interesting little puzzle game. Figuring out the rules might catch my attention for a short time. Let's see, how much do they want for this game? It has 2 achievements. It's 15% off for $4.24. No, I don't think so. Not at that price. That is a really, really high price for what is a one-screen Unity puzzle game. This is from a developer who made the game Hex and Hex 2, which are both $6.99. Like, he's just asking way too much for his little puzzle game, where at best I'd pay $1.50 for that game. You're not gonna get much more than that for me. Like, puzzle games are never that fun, never that good. Moving on, we have a game called Tower Hunter Erza's Trial, E-R-Z-A''S. Let's see. It says it contains the core elements of a roguelike and Metroidvania type games presented in a toon rendered style. Is that really what this should be described as a toon? I call it CGI, just bright cell shading in a 2.5D style game. It looks perfectly fine. It looks pretty good. In general, I would just not call it anything. The player explores a mysterious tower with Erza, vanquishes mutant monsters, and defeats bosses to acquire a hunter's license and become the ... Now, this game is mixed at 68% of 41 user reviews. It came out September 28th, so it's practically brand new, but it has a lot of people who've already played it, which I assume is an indicator that it's been in early access. It looks like it's a fast-paced game. I like the look of the character from the equipment menu. You don't get to see her too much because the camera's zoomed out, but I think it is probably zoomed out to the right or close to the right amount. I like the backgrounds. I like everything. It looks very, very polished and very, very pretty. And I am certainly a sucker for pretty looking games over practically any other kind of game. If I can feast with my eyes before almost anything else. Like there have certainly been, like, Bullet Witch is an example of a game that was probably good looking on the cover of the box, and then playing it was a nightmare. This is early access. It was called Tower Hunter before, and they really need to crack down on names. The way things are, names of games get changed. It's 10% off for $14.39, which is, let's see.
Unleash your potential.
Let's ask the question here and look at the reviews. This is the first game I've actually had to look at the reviews. We have the same. We have a not recommended that had played 0.5 hours. This game would be so much better without the roguelike gameplay. There's such a hard-on by the indie developers for roguelike and everything. You would have had a wonderful contender for Bloodstained Ritual Night, and it just fell flat. It's really difficult for me to recommend a Metroidvania that you can't even save your progress in. Okay. I think that's arguably fair. I don't know about anyone else, but I certainly don't have hours upon hours to spend progressing only to lose everything and then feel like saying, oh sure, let me do that again and waste more time. Like, the idea of it being a roguelike instead of a roguelite, where Rogue Legacy was a roguelite, is concerning, certainly, because Rogue, the original Rogue game, didn't save any of your progress. You didn't get more experience, you didn't upgrade or unlock anything, whereas Rogue Legacy, when you died, you kept your money, you could buy upgrades, you could make yourself stronger. Here's another negative one that says, this game is literally unplayable. I can't go out of the tutorial without getting stuck because the attacks teleport me to the other side of the map. The dash breaks the entire game, leaving me stuck while the game character slides. The jump makes me float infinitely, and on it goes. Here we have one that says not recommended until someone fixes the bug. I couldn't even pass the tutorial. Let's see. I'm just gonna run this. Here we have another one that's not recommended, which oddly is not recommended in a different way. It almost feels like the game only has the tutorial mode, and that's it, because it's early access. This one has just such a visual polish on it. I'm gonna be extremely generous this game and put it on my wish list to keep an eye on it and look at the reviews and see if they improve and fix the bugs. There's just so much polish on this that it's slightly questionable that it couldn't get fixed. And if they changed it from a roguelike to a roguelite, which might be what they plan on doing or intend to do, or maybe they're just describing it badly, that would be very nice too. Of course, a game like this also might just be a asset flip style game that is done so well that you don't recognize that it is an asset flip. It could be that the character and the UI and the enemies and everything are actually bought assets that have just been merged very well. And some of the enemies definitely don't look as bright and shiny and as well animated as the main characters. But all that being said, this is also the first game from this developer. I'm gonna put it on the wish list and keep an eye on it. It'll probably fall right off the wish list at the end of the year for being reviewed so low. But yeah. There's a victory, finally. Next we have a game called 5 Seconds of Bad Music. Think, expect, stay within 5 seconds. This is some very simplistic, low polygon puzzle game. I have no idea what it is. It's in English and Russian, which implies to me that it's probably a Russian troll game for what it looks like. It's $1.99. They're calling this game a time killer game, and I don't buy into the idea of spending money to kill your time. Like, both money and time are very precious, whether people recognize it or not. Next we have a game called Cyberpunk 2089. It's a cubic low effort game that I assume, it's not Cyberpunk, it's Cuberpunk 2089. So this is an English-Russian game again, and almost certainly is an a Russian troll game at this point. Like, that's pretty obvious. It's 99 cents. I'm not gonna say anything more about it. We have a game, Mr. Squeaker's Home for the Sick, and this looks like it is a mouse version of Papers, Please, and yeah, this is some weird mouse version of Papers, Please. There's really nothing else to say about it. I think this is probably a troll game. So it's $7.99. The graphics and MS Paint looking graphics, very pixely. I'd say they're more pixely than MS Paint looking. And it really does seem like all you're doing is playing a worse version of Papers, Please. And I don't see any reason why that would motivate me or very many other people. We have a game on Steam called Maze Quest 2, which looks like it's a top-down RPG game. I wouldn't actually call it an RPG maker game. It looks like it's made from scratch. Hex tile based fighting mechanic, and very square and blocky animations in the overworld map. It's early access for $7.99. The only thing I could think is if perhaps this developer had made a Maze Quest 1. But if they did, it's not listed here. Like the 2 developers listed and the 1 publisher none of them have done anything else. So if there is a Maze Quest 1, it never came to Steam. Let's keep on playing. We have a game called 21, which is just 21, which I think is the exact same thing as Blackjack, although there might be actually some missing rules in 21. Like, you might not be able to split cards or double down. Maybe you don't gamble with points or money. This is a very simplistic game. It does not look very good. It's in English and Portuguese Brazil, which I'm always surprised when there are Brazilian looking games, or games that seem to have been made from Brazil. Let's see, 21 is 40% off for 59 cents. Nothing there to interest most people. Next we have a game called Sign Tracer, C-I-N-E. It says it's a realistic cinematography simulator. The player operates a real world based on cameras, sets up lights, and directs talents and actors in stunning next-gen 3D environments created in Unreal Engine 4. So the only thing I could assume here is this is literally a dumbed down Unreal Engine 4 interface, and there's actually no game here. At all. It doesn't seem like that's much of a game. Like, and this could just be some dumbed down scenarios.
Pay attention, class.
Inherently, if you wanted to do animation in Unreal Engine 4, which is only the reason you'd want to do that is either to teach yourself to be an animator in Unreal Engine 4, or to use pre-bought assets from the Unreal Engine store, because anybody else would obviously just be using something like Blender to animate something, or some other 3D animation software. This game is early access and they're asking for $60, $69.99. There we go. And this is the only game from this developer, and see, this feels too much like a scam that I would ever recommend anybody doing this. Also, you know, you're just not going to set yourself up in a career of animating through Unreal Engine 4 through a game in Unreal Engine 4. If you want to do an Unreal Engine animation, you should be taking a class and getting a real education. And I imagine in taking a 3D animation class in college, you would quickly be told, no, we don't use Unreal Engine 4 like that. not at least originally. You probably use
Come,
Blender
sit
to
a
create
while and
your
relax.
original artwork, at least in part. So I managed to have two things that gave me classic card packs. So on my Asian account now, the classic card packs might help me, but I doubt it. I suspect we'll have 10 cards to turn to dust. Like, I think even my other collections are pretty much to the point where unless I get an epic or higher, I already have everything. So yeah, what is this? Turn into dust. Yes, exactly 10 cards. For a pretty pathetic amount of dust. Then apparently some cards that I've probably had for a very long time are marked as new, but we'll just catch up all of these and right click them all so that it just does not stop. It does not stop. This thing is so glitched. So glitched. Let's come back. Are they all marked scene now? Good. So we have to do the Tavern Brawl. Still. We need to win a game with the Shaman and Warlock. Play a bunch of beasts. Can we do beasts and the Warlock, I wonder? Or play a bunch of mana class cards and really have to do everything. So let's try this. Warlock, this, and then Beast. Let's see. Summon 2 bats. Destroy a friendly minion and adapt twice. Charge, Wind Fury, deal 1 damage, lifesteal. Take that, take that. Get in. See how that plays. We have a game on Steam called Destination Dungeon: Tomb of Repentance. It says it's a new casual style dungeon crawler. Let me look at it and see how it looks. It looks pretty bad. Like, it has an animated left and right bar that on first glance makes it seem like it's a full screen game, but really it isn't. It looks like a cell phone port of something. It's 40% off for $1.19, and it's in a bundle with 48 other games, so you can tell it's probably an extremely low effort game if you can just bundle bad games together to try and sell them. Let's see. I'm moving the mouse too far to the left because my new mouse is actually responding correctly, which that's weird. I'm gonna have to readjust to subtler mouse movements. Tech Raptor has an article. Nintendo retains cloud saves after Switch Online subscription ends. Apparently this has been cleared up / changed, backtracked, I'm sure some would say, where I believe, and instead of guessing, let me scroll down and see. Yes, they will retain your save game for 180 days, which that's, I guess, better than it getting immediately deleted. I don't know why 180 days was picked because that number still seems to be a little low. You should have just attacked with this first. Oh, it's a freezing trap. Good. Not great, but good. Nintendo's online service still is pretty bad. Is a pretty bad offering. And I've heard rumors and speculation that people are not enjoying the like free NES games that are coming out with it either. So people aren't particularly happy with any part of it. Let's see, apparently it was a WB Games Publishers Weekend, September 27th through October 1st. At what site is this? Steam? How did I just end up on Steam's main page? Must have clicked on something, I guess, because I just ended up there. Publisher's Weekend on Steam isn't really too much to write home about. Let's see. GameIndustry.biz has this article for Dara O'Brien's Go 8-Bit, which has been cancelled after 3 series. This apparently was some kind of UK TV show. You know, though most UK shows get cancelled after like 3 series, so that's not super amazingly surprising. Let's see. It's apparently this show that I've never even heard of, aired in 2016 and was based on a live event and saw celebrities competing in various multiplayer and sometimes single player challenges for video games of all eras. They're gonna try and turn this into like a YouTube they're gonna try and turn it into like a YouTube thing. Let's see. Jeez, I might get all the daily quests done really quick at this rate. Like, there's an update here saying that they were informed that it was very unlikely the shows would return, which no real surprise there. I don't know of any real UK series that has managed to get a popular uprising to bring back the show. You could maybe argue Doctor Who, but I don't think even that would quite fill that description. So let's just play ranked here until I decide I want to go play ranked on some other account. I still need to play Mage Guard, so can't do it quite yet. Also should have broken up this recording and done one more, because we still have a ton of news. Like I figured, this is going to be, because we missed Wednesday, we're just going to have so much news to talk about. But there was never a lot of chance that that wasn't going to happen. I'm looking at a game called Find the Balance, where it looks like it's basically a cell phone game where you're kind of playing Tetris with random items, so it's like a physics game. It looks like it's actually a little polished enough to be playable. One of the Steam achievements is Pickle Rick, so that is questionable. It's $1.99. If anything, I would say this probably is a really good, like, first year programmer's project, where they saw their limitations and said, hey, I can make a Tetris game, but I could make a Tetris game where
Job's done.
where the items are not just at right angles, and then I can animate these items or pre-purchase the animated items. Seems like also you have to constantly try and build up towards the top, because it seems like the tower you're building is constantly getting moved lower and lower towards a wheel of chainsaws or circular saws.
Let the pain speak to me.
This doesn't look bad, so I'm gonna put Find the Balance on my wish list and move on. Nutaku has a new game, Tech Raptor's talking about. Naughtiness and strategy card battles combined in Nutaku's Tamanin, that's Taimanin, Asagi, Asagi, Battle Arena. So, yes. Nutaku, I think they released like 2 or 3 games in the past week or so. So they're really still pushing it. We'll see how well they last once we see more of these things just come directly to Steam. But I think they're at least funding and publishing and developing some of those games too. But most of the games they make are not worth playing. Speaking of a game probably not worth playing, we have a game here called Gravi Sound. Gravi. Unusual continuation of button music series Gravi Sound. So it's some kind of very ugly looking constructor where you are putting notes in places where a ball will land, and I assume the notes will play. It's an English-Russian game, so I think it's a Russian troll style game. It's 26% off for 96 cents. It's in a bundle of randomly assorted games that have no real connection.
An incredible discovery!
Pain speak to me.
Yeah, I don't see anything here about this game that interests me. Gematsu has an article, Dead or Alive 6 is coming to arcades. Let's see. I'm not 100% sure though that, yeah, it's arcades in Japan, as well as coming to the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. Yeah, I don't think there are too many arcades in the United States or the rest of the world, and so I doubt it would cross over. If it does cross over, your luck is going to be extremely varied on whether you can find one or not.
An incredible discovery!
Bring the pain.
Let's see, next we have a game called Dawn of China, Rise of Qin, Qin. Let's see if this is in English. Yes, it is. It, I think, is a real-time strategy game. Some of it looks a little nicely animated, but a lot of it doesn't. It looks simplistic. and it seems like the vast majority of the game is just looking at different sections of China. I'm not seeing a lot of gameplay here that interests me. It's 30% off for $4.89. And yeah, I think I can just close the tab because what I've seen has uninterested me. Let's see. So late on that one.
Bring the pain.
We have a game on Steam called Blink Rogues. It says it's a competitive player versus player shoot 'em up. It looks to me like it's a top fly to the top of the screen airplane shooter. Interesting that they would have multiplayer there. It does seem like it splits the screen so that two players could play at the same time. I don't know why we're seeing a lot of these airplane shooter style games. They weren't coming out at this consistently before. It's not discounted at all for $4.99 and definitely doesn't interest me.
Time grows short.
Gematsu has an article, the PlayStation experience to skip 2018. Quote, "We wouldn't have enough," says the Sony Interactive Entertainment people. That's a SIE Worldwide Studios chairman. I could read the whole quote here, but yeah. The question here, I guess this is just to say a PlayStation experience will not be held in 2018 at all. Not that there will be a PlayStation experience event and Sony themselves will just not be there, which that would be pretty embarrassing if that was the case. Let's see, moving on, we have a game in VR. It says called Wall Walker. It's a spatial reasoning puzzle game according to its description. I would say it's pretty much just a pretty generic polygonal game of picking up cubes and trying to throw them. And you teleport yourself to certain points, so you're not walking on the walls, because of course you couldn't be doing that in VR. It's 20% off for $7.99. And where do we want to go here? I think it would be a mistake to continue. Like, I was hoping that maybe I could get a big push and finish on just 3 recordings, but we're 15 minutes over already. We need to make another recording. We've just got so much more video game news, video games to look at and talk about, that yeah, there's an hour's worth of content here. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.